We live in a world obsessed with beauty, talent, and charm. But let me ask you this, if those things are so attractive, why do people with them still lose influence, respect, and even love? The truth is, back, the most magnetic trait isn't what you think. It's the one no one talks about, yet it decides who rises and who fades. And once you discover it, get back. You'll never look at yourself or others the same way again. If people spend most of their lives chasing after approval, validation, and acceptance, and in doing so, they bury the very thing that makes them most powerful. They cover up their real voice, their real opinions, back, and their real quirks in order to fit into a mold that was never designed for them in the first place. They buy into the lie that if they perform a role long enough, people will finally like them more. Yet deep down, back, they know the exhaustion of pretending, the weight of faking, and the emptiness that comes with not being known. Back. The irony is that the thing they are hiding is the very thing that would make them stand out in a crowded world. People are not attracted to perfect, they are attracted to real. Back. When someone drops the mask and shows up as they are, it's like a breath of fresh air. Authenticity doesn't just pull others in, it gives you peace within. Back. That is why the most magnetic trait is the courage to be exactly who you are. You can feel it instantly when you meet someone who is unapologetically themselves. There is no second guessing it back, no desperate attempts to impress, no hidden agenda pushing beneath their words. They speak from a place of clarity because they have nothing to protect and nothing to prove. You don't feel drained in their presence. You feel alive, like you've been given permission to exhale. That kind of energy is rare in a world where everyone is constantly performing. And because it's rare, it becomes irresistible. Take it back. It's the difference between someone who blends into the background and someone who commands the room without raising their voice. People may not even be able to articulate why they are drawn in at back, but it's because authenticity signals strength. It says, I am comfortable enough with myself that I don't need to manipulate you to like me. And that is power. Back. Think about how often people distort themselves just to avoid rejection. They say yes when they want to say no. They laugh at jokes they don't find funny. It back. They post pictures they don't even like just to keep up appearances. They live in a constant state of adjusting, calculating, and editing themselves to earn approval. It back. But the approval they win this way is fragile because it was never given to their real self, only the version they pretended to be. That's why it never feels fulfilling, why it always fades the moment the mask slips. Back. Authenticity demands courage because it comes with the risk of being disliked. But it also comes with the freedom of being truly loved, respected, and valued for who you are, not for the illusion you perform. Back. That is the kind of acceptance no fake persona can ever buy. Authenticity has a strange way of attracting the right people while repelling the wrong ones. When you're honest about who you are, back, you stop wasting energy holding on to relationships that only exist because of a facade. The people who can't handle the real you will naturally fall away, and that's not a loss, it's a gift. Back. The people who stay are the ones who resonate with your truth, the ones who see your value without you needing to put on a show. And those connections are deeper, stronger, it back, and more lasting than anything built on pretense. Imagine walking through life knowing that every relationship in your circle exists because people love you as you are, not as who you pretended to be. Back. That level of confidence, that level of peace is what makes authenticity magnetic. It attracts loyalty, respect, and trust that surface level charm can never sustain. Back. It's not that authenticity is about oversharing every thought or spilling every flaw. It's about alignment, making sure the person you present to the world is the same as the person you are inside. Back. It's about not selling yourself out to fit an image that doesn't belong to you. There is strength in restraint and wisdom in privacy, but neither of those require pretending. What makes authenticity attractive is not raw exposure, but raw honesty. People can sense when your words align with your values, when your actions line up with your intentions, back, and when your confidence comes from truth rather than performance. That alignment is what creates trust, and trust is the most powerful form of influence. Without it, everything else is hollow. With it, everything else becomes possible. There's a deep relief in authenticity that nothing else can give. It means you no longer wake up dreading the effort it takes to keep up the performance. Back. It means you no longer live in fear of being found out. It means your energy is directed toward growth, impact, and purpose instead of maintaining appearances. When you are authentic, back, your life simplifies because you stop juggling multiple versions of yourself. You don't need one face for your friends, another for your colleagues, another for social media, and another for when you're alone. You only need one. That simplicity gives you a kind of confidence that doesn't need validation because it already rests on truth. And that quiet confidence is magnetic in a way that flashy charisma can never duplicate. Back, the mistake many people make is thinking attraction is built on perfection. They assume that the more flawless they appear, the more they will be admired. But flaws are not barriers to attraction. They are bridges. Back. When you reveal imperfection with honesty, you create a space where others feel safe to be imperfect too. And that shared humanity is far more attractive than the illusion of flawlessness. Perfection intimidates. Back, but authenticity invites. It makes people feel less alone, less inadequate, less pressure to perform. It transforms interactions from shallow exchanges into meaningful connections. The people who change rooms. It back. Relationships and even entire movements are not the ones who look perfect, but the ones who show up as whole, imperfections and all. Authenticity is not something you acquire, it is something you uncover. Back. Every layer of pretending you peel away brings you closer to your core. Every time you choose honesty over performance, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was hidden. This process is not easy. Back, because the world rewards conformity and punishes difference. But that is what makes authenticity powerful. It takes bravery to resist the pressure to blend in. And bravery is always attractive. People may not say it out loud, but they admire those who stand firm in themselves. They may even envy it because it reflects a freedom they crave, but are too afraid to claim. By living authentically, you give silent permission for others to do the same. The truth is, attraction is never about the surface. It is about the signal beneath the surface. Authenticity signals confidence, courage, and clarity. Back. It tells people that you are safe to trust, safe to follow, and safe to be around. It's not about being the loudest voice, the flashy stressor, or the most polished speaker. Back. It's about radiating an inner steadiness that makes others feel at ease. That steadiness doesn't come from external approval. It comes from the unshakable foundation of knowing who you are and refusing to betray it. And that is the rarest, most irresistible trait in the world. Talent is often romanticized as the golden ticket to success, the magic ingredient that separates winners from everyone else. Back. People look at someone gifted and assume that's why they've reached the heights they have. But the truth is talent without discipline is like a car without fuel. It may look impressive, but it won't get very far. Get back. Discipline is what keeps you moving when the excitement wears off and the applause is gone. Discipline is what shows up when motivation fails, when the spark fades, and when the road gets long and dull. While talent is flashy and inspiring, it is also unreliable without the backbone of consistent effort. Discipline is the force that transforms potential into reality, and without it, back, even the most talented will eventually fall behind. When you see someone excel, you rarely see the hours of repetition, the thousands of small choices, and the unglamorous sacrifices that built that excellence. It back. Talent may open a door, but discipline keeps it open. It is discipline that ensures you wake up when you said you would, practice when you don't feel like it, back, and finish tasks long after the initial excitement has passed. That steady rhythm of showing up compounds in ways talent alone never could. Back. The ordinary person with extraordinary discipline will outlast the extraordinary person with ordinary discipline every single time. Because consistency always beats bursts of brilliance. Back. Especially in a world where most people give up before results arrive. Discipline is not glamorous, and that is why so many people resist it. It requires patience, self-control, back, and a willingness to delay gratification when everything in you wants the shortcut. It means saying no when everyone else is saying yes, and yes when everyone else is saying no. It means enduring boredom, frustration, and even failure without walking away. But that is also why it's so powerful. Few people are willing to cultivate it, which makes it a rare and magnetic trait. When people see discipline, they see reliability, trustworthiness, and strength. They know you will keep your word, not because it's easy, but because you've trained yourself to follow through no matter what. That reliability makes you valuable beyond measure. Back. The world notices discipline even if it doesn't praise it openly. Employers want the disciplined employee who shows up early and delivers consistently. Back. Partners want the disciplined person who keeps promises and invests in the relationship daily. Friends want the disciplined confident who is present even when life gets inconvenient. Discipline creates stability. Back. And stability is attractive because it is rare in a chaotic world. People may be drawn initially to charm, talent, or surface level appeal, but they stay for consistency. Take it back. They stay for the kind of person they can depend on when everything else feels uncertain. That staying power is built entirely on discipline, not raw talent. Back. Discipline also has a compounding effect that talent never does. When you are disciplined, you stack small victories day after day, week after week, until the results become undeniable. Back. You don't need to chase validation because your consistency speaks louder than words. Over time, this steady accumulation of progress builds momentum that no sudden burst of inspiration can replicate. Talent may give you a head start, but discipline ensures you finish the race. It's why so many gifted people plateau while others who seemed ordinary surpass them through sheer persistence. In the long run, discipline rewrites the scoreboard. People often confuse discipline with harshness or rigidity, but in reality, it is freedom. Discipline frees you from being enslaved to mood, impulse, or circumstance. Back, it gives you control over your future because you're no longer at the mercy of fleeting emotions. Most people wait to feel like it before taking action, and that's why they remain stuck at back. But the disciplined person takes action regardless of feeling, and that is why they keep moving forward. Discipline doesn't eliminate struggle. It makes you stronger than the struggle. Back. And when people see that kind of resilience, they admire it deeply because they know how rare it is to master yourself. Another overlooked aspect of discipline is that it builds self-respect. Back. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce the belief that you can be trusted. Over time, this develops into unshakable confidence, not the loud, boastful kind. Back. But the quiet assurance of someone who knows they will do what they said they would do. That confidence is magnetic because it radiates from within and doesn't depend on external praise. Back. People are naturally drawn to those who respect themselves enough to live with integrity. Discipline is not just about getting results, it's about becoming someone you are proud of. Back. And that pride shows in every interaction. Discipline also requires sacrifice, and that sacrifice is what makes it meaningful. You cannot have discipline and convenience at the same time. Back, choosing discipline often means giving up comfort in the short term for greater rewards in the long term. It means prioritizing growth over instant pleasure, purpose over distraction, and vision over ease. Back, sacrifice creates depth, and depth is what makes a person compelling. Anyone can indulge, but few can consistently choose the harder path. That willingness to sacrifice signals strength, and strength is universally attractive. It draws respect not because it's loud, but because it's rare. At the core of it all, discipline creates results that speak for themselves. Back. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth when your track record does the talking. People can debate opinions, but they cannot argue with consistent results. Discipline produces evidence that cannot be ignored. Back. It builds credibility in every area of life, from health to business to relationships. And credibility is magnetic because it creates trust. People trust those who consistently deliver. And trust is the foundation of influence, success, and connection. Talent might get attention, but discipline earns loyalty. And loyalty is far more valuable than fleeting applause. Discipline is the quiet force that reshapes lives, careers, and relationships. It doesn't shout, it doesn't sparkle, and it doesn't need recognition to function. But it commands respect because it is rare. Back, and rarity is always attractive. Talent can inspire admiration in the short term, but discipline earns respect in the long term. And respect, unlike admiration, endures. Like those who master discipline don't need to chase opportunities because opportunities come looking for them. They don't need to beg for recognition because their results make them undeniable. Back, and in a world obsessed with instant gratification, the most attractive trait of all is the patience and persistence to keep showing up day after day without excuse. Back. Most people believe that strength is about how loud you are, how forceful you can be, or how quickly you can dominate a situation. But true strength is quiet, steady, and often invisible to the untrained eye. Back, it reveals itself not when everything is going well, but when the storm hits and chaos surrounds you. Emotional control is the difference between reacting and responding, between burning bridges and building influence. Back, anyone can be calm when life is smooth, but few can stay centered when the ground shakes beneath them. That is why those who master their emotions stand out. They radiate stability in a world addicted to panic. Back. People instinctively gravitate toward those who can keep calm in fire because calm feels like safety, and safety is power. When emotions control you, they own your decisions, your relationships, and your outcomes. Anger makes you say words you regret. Fear stops you from taking action, and envy blinds you from recognizing your own worth. Most people let these emotions run their lives. Back, never realizing they are living like puppets pulled by invisible strings. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing feelings. It means mastering them so they serve you instead of sabotage you. Back. It's the art of being aware of what you feel, but not letting it dictate your behavior. Imagine the influence of someone who can face conflict without exploding, who can hear criticism without crumbling, who can lose a battle without losing their composure. That kind of strength is magnetic. Emotional control is not about coldness or lack of passion. It is about channeling passion wisely. Anger can destroy, but when controlled, it can fuel justice. Fear can paralyze, but when managed, it can sharpen focus. Even sadness can either drown you or deepen your empathy depending on how you hold it back. Those who understand this don't waste their energy trying to eliminate emotions. They train themselves to direct them. They become warriors of the mind, using emotion as a weapon instead of a weakness. People admire them because they embody what most struggle to achieve: balance. They show that true attractiveness is not about how much emotion you feel, but how much mastery you have over it. That mastery is what makes them unshakable. In leadership, emotional control is the most underrated trait of all. A leader who panics creates panic in their team. A leader who lashes out spreads fear. A leader who stays calm under pressure, however, becomes an anchor for everyone around them. People don't follow those who lose control. They follow those who create stability in chaos. Emotional control builds trust because it signals reliability. You won't turn on someone in anger. You won't collapse under stress. And you won't let impulse ruin the mission. It's what makes people lean toward you when the storm hits instead of running away. That kind of trust cannot be faked because it's earned through consistency under fire. And once earned, it makes you magnetic. In relationships, emotional control is the foundation of respect. Arguments are inevitable, but how you handle them determines the strength of the bond. Without control, anger escalates into cruelty, fear into silence, and pride into distance. With control, disagreements can become bridges instead of walls. Emotional mastery allows you to listen even when you're hurt, to speak without venom, and to resolve without resentment. That doesn't mean being emotionless. It means being wise enough not to let temporary feelings cause permanent damage. When people know that you won't weaponize emotions against them, they feel safe. And safety breeds loyalty, admiration, and attraction in ways that charm alone never could. There is also a quiet confidence that emotional control creates, one that no external achievement can give back. It comes from knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you won't lose yourself. You may feel pain, frustration, or fear, but you won't allow them to dictate your actions. That level of self-mastery frees you from being enslaved by external events. You no longer need perfect circumstances to feel steady, because steadiness is something you carry within. And when people sense that steadiness, they are drawn to it instinctively. It's like gravity. The more controlled you are, the more people orbit around you. That is why emotional control is not just attractive. It's magnetic. The challenge is that emotional control requires discipline and practice. It's not something you wake up with one morning. It's built through repeated choices in hard moments. Every time you resist the urge to lash out, every time you choose patience over panic, every time you pause instead of reacting, you strengthen it. Over time, this practice rewires your mind so that control becomes your natural state instead of chaos. People often look for hacks or shortcuts to gain influence, but this is the real secret. When you can govern yourself, you don't need to manipulate anyone else. You lead by example, and people respect that more than any tactic. Another overlooked element of emotional control is how it preserves energy. Take it back. Emotional outbursts are exhausting. They drain focus, clarity, and willpower. When you lack control, you waste energy on battles that don't matter and feelings that pass quickly. But when you control your emotions, you conserve energy for what truly matters. You don't get pulled into every fight, every insult, or every minor setback. You move strategically instead of impulsively, and that gives you an advantage that others can't match. People admire this restraint because it shows maturity, patience, and wisdom. It signals that you're playing the long game instead of being enslaved by the short term. The truth is, emotional control is rare precisely because it is difficult. Most people find it easier to explode, to run, or to drown in their feelings rather than master them. But rarity creates value, and that is why those who achieve it stand out instantly. They are the ones who seem untouchable, not because they are cold, but because they refuse to let the world dictate their inner state. And in a time where volatility and chaos dominate, that kind of steadiness is irresistible. People may not say it out loud, but they are drawn to it because deep down, everyone craves that kind of control over themselves. It represents freedom, and freedom is the most powerful magnet of all. Most people think being attractive means having the best stories, the sharpest opinions, or the most exciting achievements. They believe connection is about how interesting they can make themselves appear. But in reality, the most magnetic trait is not being interesting, it's being genuinely interested. Curiosity has a power that few recognize because it shifts the spotlight off yourself and onto others. When you ask thoughtful questions and listen with intent, you create space for people to feel seen. And in a world where most people are desperate to be noticed, being the one who notices makes you unforgettable. It doesn't require brilliance or charm, only the humility to care. Curiosity is not about interrogation, it's about presence. It's about listening without waiting for your turn to speak, and about asking without trying to control the answer. Most conversations are performances filled with rehearsed responses and half-listening nods. But curiosity breaks that cycle because it is rooted in genuine attention. When someone feels your curiosity, they relax, they open up, and they lean into the connection. It creates an energy that words alone cannot generate. You don't need to impress them with cleverness. You impress them by making them feel valued. That is why curiosity is so magnetic. It turns ordinary interactions into meaningful ones. The most powerful part of curiosity is that it builds instant trust. People don't trust those who only talk about themselves. They trust those who make them feel important. By being curious, you show humility because you admit there is something you don't know but want to learn back. That humility is attractive because it removes competition and replaces it with connection. Instead of trying to prove your worth, you create space for others to share theirs. And when people feel understood, they naturally feel connected. It is a connection rooted not in performance, but in authenticity. And that kind of bond lasts longer than charm. Curiosity also opens doors that talent or status never could. Opportunities often come not to the loudest, but to the most attentive. When you are genuinely curious, you uncover details, insights, and connections that others overlook. You learn faster, adapt quicker, and relate deeper because you are not blinded by the need to show off. Curiosity turns every room into a classroom and every person into a teacher. It's a trait that multiplies value because it transforms strangers into allies and conversations into lessons. While others are busy broadcasting themselves, the curious person is gathering wisdom. And that wisdom becomes the foundation of influence. Another overlooked aspect of curiosity is the way it makes people feel safe. When you ask questions without judgment, you create a space where others can express their truth without fear. That kind of acceptance is rare in a world that constantly criticizes, labels, and dismisses. Curiosity is not about agreeing with everything you hear back. It's about respecting the right of someone to share it. People don't need you to always have the right answers. They need you to care enough to ask the right questions. And when they find someone who can do that, they cling to it because it feels liberating. That liberation is what makes curiosity so compelling. Curiosity requires patience, and patience is one of the purest demonstrations of respect. To be curious means you're willing to pause your own story long enough to hear someone else's. It means you're willing to let silence linger, to let thoughts unfold, to let someone explain themselves fully without rushing. In doing so, you communicate that their words matter. And when people feel that level of respect, they respond with openness. Curiosity teaches us that the fastest way to influence someone is not through persuasion, but through understanding. Influence flows naturally toward those who listen, not those who demand. That's why curiosity creates connection effortlessly. Even in leadership, curiosity transforms dynamics. Leaders who assume they know everything lose trust quickly, but leaders who remain curious build loyalty. Take it back. When you ask people for their perspectives, you empower them to contribute and feel valued. This doesn't mean abandoning authority. It means strengthening it by building collaboration. Teams follow leaders who care enough to listen, not just command. The same is true in friendships, partnerships, and even with strangers. Curiosity equalizes power because it shifts focus away from hierarchy and toward humanity, and humanity is the ground where real influence is planted. The beauty of curiosity is that it costs nothing yet pays endlessly. You don't need special skills or resources to be curious. You only need the willingness to care. A curious heart gathers knowledge, wisdom, and relationships that no amount of status can buy back. It makes you memorable not for what you said, but for how you made others feel. People rarely remember the clever remark or the impressive resume, but they always remember how deeply they felt seen in your presence. Curiosity creates those unforgettable moments, the kind that echo long after the conversation ends. That is why it is one of the most attractive traits in the world. Curiosity also keeps you growing. The moment you stop asking questions, you stop evolving. Curiosity prevents arrogance because it reminds you that no matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. It keeps your mind open, your perspective wide, and your spirit humble. And that humility is magnetic because it feels refreshing in a culture obsessed with ego. Curiosity is not weakness. It is wisdom. It signals that you value growth over pride, discovery over certainty, and people over performance. That signal draws others to you because growth is contagious. When you are curious, you don't just connect, you inspire. In the end, curiosity is the trait that transforms relationships, careers, and even lives because it taps into the deepest human need, the need to be seen. Everyone wants to feel that their story matters, their thoughts count, and their existence has weight. Curiosity is the bridge that delivers that message without ever needing to say it directly. It proves that attention is the greatest gift you can give someone, and it costs you nothing but care. That is why the most attractive people are not the loudest, the most talented, or even the most confident. They are the most curious, because curiosity builds connection. And connection is what everyone is really searching for.